Okay, welcome back to another video on the stereo speaker laser cut MDF tutorial. So this is what we're aiming for overall, this design, or something very similar to it. This bit here is going to be laser cut out of flexible MDF. We haven't looked at that yet. This is what we have looked at so far. We've actually now made all the individual parts so that we can assemble this. That's what we're going to start today. You can see here I've got all my parts. I'm now going to open up a new file and we're going to start bringing them in. Now before you can bring in existing designs to your workspace, you need to save your work. I'm going to show you that here. I'm going to try and drag the back in and I come up with an error, design not yet saved. So we need to save our work first. So I'm going to save it as an assembly. I might change that to stereo speaker assembly. This is good practice because the more you use CAD programs and you just call everything basic assembly, you might have lots of files called assembly, even though they might be nicely organized in folders like I've got here. If you've got lots of the same file called assembly and you're searching for it, that could cause a lot of problems and hassle. So correctly naming things will save you time in the long run eventually. So press save, and now I can start dragging things through. So I'm going to drag through the back, and I'm just going to press OK, leave it where it is. But then over here I'm going to right click and I'm going to press ground. That means it can't be moved. I'm clicking and dragging on it, it's not going anywhere. So we've got a fixed point, because what we don't want is to have nothing fixed in place but everything joined together, but then everything moves around non-stop. So we've got that fixed in place, that's exactly where it needs to be. So now start putting other parts in. Well, let's put the back inner ring in next. Now it comes in the same location. I'm going to just drag it forward a bit and press OK. Now this is still free to move because it's not been grounded. So I'm going to go and first off join these together. So here I've got my joint option. It's shortcut J. Now I want to actually put this surface on here. I have to click on this one first, and I need something to snap to it. It's definitely this surface. I can click on this surface, but now it wants me to snap to a node. And notice how no matter where my mouse is, it only actually moves my selection point to nodes. Well, I need a node for it to snap to. It needs to be exact. What I can do is I can use this center node here, because that should, if we've done this properly, line up very nicely on this surface with this central node here. So I clicked on this surface first, I haven't clicked on a node, and now I can only select a node. I'm going for that node there. And let's have a look. We'll click right on the front. Has that lined up? That looks like it's lined up perfectly. We'll spin around to the back. Yes, very nice. I can press OK. That's now fixed in place. Right, we've got them. Let's bring in some dividers. So we're going to bring in the central divider. Now that's come in there. One thing I should have done probably is to move the back piece back there when I very first started. I could do that now if I wanted to. I could right click, unground the back. I can press M for move. I can select the back piece to move. It says bodies. You could do components. So select back there, and because the inner ring is joined to it, it will move with it. I could just bring it back 100 mil. Press OK, and then right click on there and press ground again and capture new position. There we go. So that's now moved, and all new pieces will come in the middle here. So I'm going to attach this into here. To do that, I need to press J for joint, or the selection up here. And we want to put this in here. We need to think carefully about where it is we're going to be attaching or snapping to. So I want to snap to this node on the back there, but on this surface. And the same thing is going to be here. It's going to be that node on this surface. I'm going to click on the surface first, then I'm going to click on the node. I'm going to swing it round Zoom right in. I'm going to click on the surface first, then the node. Now, if you do get it wrong, you can still move things around. You can still adjust them. You can click on these lines here and drag up and down or adjust here. But that looks like exactly where we need it to be. And by coming through here, luckily when we do this, other parts go transparent, so we can't see them very well. Means that we can check that everything's lined up exactly as it should be. And that looks like nothing's overlapping. Everything's exactly where it should be. That's what we want. So we can press OK. Right. I'm now going to take the opportunity to save this. We're at a nice point here. I can press OK. And you're starting to notice now also we've got these little joint markers or joint symbols up here to show us where the joints are. These are really handy to know where your joints are, but they just add extra confusion visually. So over here on the tree, you can deselect joints and they disappear. And now that little bit of irritation from the screen, or visually I find it irritating, that's gone. Right, let's add some more, the normal dividers in. So we need a few of these. So let's bring one, and I'm going to drag that off to the left. I'm going to bring another one, and I'll drag it off to the left, and I'll bring another one, and I'll drag it off to the left, and now I bring some more in and drag them off to the right, because space, and off to the right, and last one off to the right. So we have these parts in. We need to make them into there. So let's do a joint J. The first thing we're going to do is I'm going to select, let's see what we can select from over here. Now if I come in here, we can't select the back of that. We can select the front of this, and what we can select, if I select the front here and this node, I can select this node here. I can do the surface first and then that node, or I can jump straight to that node. And everything looks like it's all come out of alignment and moved. Don't worry, because this is just looking at these two parts on their own. When I press OK, everything's going to go back to where it should be. I like that. That looks good. Press OK. And there you go. It's exactly where it should be. So now I'm going to do the same thing again. Joint. I'm going to pay careful attention to the orientation of these. I want them orientated like they're going around in the circle. So the sides vertical, the top and bottom, I want them horizontal. So on this one here, on this surface, bottom node. But then on this surface, I want side node. Now you can see that it's attached it, but it's overlapping and it's not right. If I rotate this bit here 90 degrees or back to 0, that's exactly what I wanted. Everything lined up right. And now we need to repeat this for the others. So joint, I'll do this one, this side first. In fact, I'll do this side first because it stops the other bits moving, just avoids that confusion. Again, so this one needs rotating back to 0. There we go. So joint for this one, bottom node in there, top node on there, that one's gone in fine, bottom node in there, side node on there, rotate by 90, done, and the last one, bottom node on there, side node on there, rotate by 90. Okay, so that's that part done. It's starting to take shape now. It's starting to look good. I'm going to save my work. Wait for that to upload. And then I can drag in my front inner ring. So because I've moved everything back, now when they come in, they're coming in front of our work. It does actually make our life a little bit easier. So I'm glad I've done that. And leave it there. You don't need to add a joint in for every single part or point. One joint is sufficient. So I'm going to do one joint, J. I'm going to do that front side point there to that front point there. And that should, if we've done it correctly, we should drag everything into alignment. And you can use this preview section here to have a look around. And looking at it, I can see that that looks right. That down there looks right. This bit here looks like it's lining up right. I can zoom in a bit closer to double check. Yeah, that all looks good. Press OK. And yeah, I'm happy with that. That's lined up very nicely. Right, the last thing to do is to bring the front piece in. And to bring the front piece in, I'm going to drag it in. Oh, it's not the last thing actually, there's one more thing to do after this. So I'm going to bring the front piece in, I'm going to drag that all the way forward, just keep it out of the way. I'm going to bring the retaining rings in first. I should have probably done this before, to this bit before I attached it. So we've got one, just move it over to the side. And then I'll bring another one in. I'm going to spin this one round now, so I haven't got to do it later. You can see here it's got the angle. Then I'm just going to drag it over to here. So I need to attach these to this surface, but I'm going to align them with the holes. So J for joint. I'm going to select on this surface, the center point of that circle there is a node. Spinning around on this surface, the center point of that circle is a node, and that lines up perfectly. I can see through all three holes. Lovely. I'm going to do the exact same thing on here. J for joint. This surface, that center point. And I've done that top one there. So this surface, that center point. Lines up beautifully. Happy days. Now I'm going to bring in this one here. Now, we don't have any obvious points of contact other than the center. Now we can try that and see how that works. So if I click on this surface first, I can use the center. But I think the center is off alignment, but we can find out because of the feet. I'll try that surface and then the center. Now we're going to spin it round. That actually is not right. You can see that the gap, if I go here, is a much bigger gap here than there is up here. So that doesn't work. So we're going to remove those from our selection. So we're going to try it again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do this surface to that point there. To this surface and that point there. And I know already this is going to be wrong, but what I can do is I can drag this down because it should be 3mm offset. That's how we designed it, that's how we made it. And that looks right, that looks accurate. And don't panic when you're doing this that this is over here and that's over there, because like before, when I press OK, it's going to drag it back in. And there you go. There you have the assembly all done, ready to go. And what we can now do is save it. We should always save our work. Every little step we do, save your work. And then let's add some of the aesthetics to it. Let's actually make it look like MDF. So I press the letter A and want bodies and components. I'm going to you can scroll down here and look through. I'm just going to search in here for MDF. And there you go, MDF board. And I'm going to physically drag it onto each of the components. Now you can actually drag it onto them on there as well. So instead of trying to like line everything up in there, you can just do via the tree on here. And almost done. There we go. Now that leaves us at the point where, once we've saved it, we have got our laser cutting ready to go. All we've got to do is lay this out so in a form where the laser cutter can read it. And we're going to go into the manufacturing space for that in the next video. and then we can get it laser cut. What we haven't worked with yet so far is the outside shell. And there's two ways we could do this. As I keep mentioning, we can use laser cut a strip of flexible MDF. And for that, all you need to do is calculate your outer perimeter. So I can go inspect. This is a length of 151, and then you can add this one in. So do that one. That's a length of 29, and so on. Add them all together, and that's how long a strip you need. I'd always recommend adding at least 10-15 millimeters extra onto that length. Then you can dry fit it, make sure it fits, cut its length manually. It's MDF. You can use a sharp craft knife with a bit of force, or any sort of standard basic tool such as a coping saw to cut it to length, and then you are good to go to glue it in. But make sure you got all your circuitry done and test it first. An alternative could be to design this part to be 3D printed. So you could 3D print that shell, and that can give you some extra details, extra accuracy maybe, or you could add some extra customization onto it. So that could be a nice little feature if you want to go down that route. So that is that bit all done. Good luck.